Hello, fight fans. Thanks for joining us at MMA Insider. Before we get rolling with today's news, show some love by hitting that like button and subscribing. Now let's uncover the latest happenings in MMA. Starting off, Tony Ferguson rips apart Khabib Nurmagomedov for lucky punch comment. Moving on, Charles Oliveira admits that he's dying to fight ahead of UFC return. Lastly, Dana White hints Conor McGregor's UFC comeback announcement is imminent. Former UFC interim lightweight champion Tony Ferguson didn't take long to notice Khabib Nurmagomedov's declaration about the lone way he feels he'd lose to him. Ferguson and Khabib were scheduled to fight several times during their legendary careers, but the dream lightweight matchup never came to fruition, for reasons ranging from last-second injuries to travel issues. Any hopes of another attempted booking were squashed when Khabib retired from fighting in 2020. He cited the loss of his father as a significant reason for his retirement. During a recent interview, Khabib was asked how Ferguson could have ended his undefeated UFC run. He claimed that Ferguson would need a lucky punch to dethrone him. Ferguson, to no surprise, didn't take kindly to that remark. In a recent Instagram comment, Ferguson responded to Khabib, "Lucky punch now was going to leave you alone, but you just couldn't help it, you fat what a Okay, coward like chicken, keep hiding Khabib or 29-1. It's on like Donkey Kong Biatch. Until further notice, let Ola Fathead know what time it is, crew." Ferguson hasn't won a UFC fight since a doctor's stoppage victory over Donald Cerrone in 2019. Since then, he's lost 8 consecutive fights, most recently against Michael at UFC Abu Dhabi. The final time that Ferguson versus Khabib was booked was in 2020 before COVID-19 canceled UFC 249's original event date. The UFC attempted to rebook the fight in front of an empty arena, but Khabib wasn't permitted to leave Dagestan due to the pandemic. Khabib entered the UFC Hall of Fame in 2022 alongside longtime teammate Daniel Cormier. He shut down any hopes of a potential comeback in recent years. Ferguson remains on the UFC roster despite his lengthy skid. In the meantime, he's reigniting a years-old feud with Khabib. Former UFC lightweight champion Charles Oliveira is ready to return to the cage. Charles Oliveira hasn't been seen in the cage since a bout with Arman Tsarukyan in April at UFC 300. The contest was labeled as a title eliminator heading in, and Charles Oliveira hoped to earn a rematch with Islam Makhachev. However, the Brazilian suffered a split decision loss. In the process, missing out on his shot at re-earning the gold he lost in 2022. Since then, the lightweight contender hasn't booked a return to the cage. In fact, Charles Oliveira has teased that his next contest could go down at 170 pounds. Names such as Colby Covington have called out the former champion, but nothing has come to fruition. It also appears that Oliveira is getting tired of being on the sidelines. Earlier today, Charles Oliveira took to social media. On Instagram, the former UFC lightweight champion wrote a lengthy post about his return to the cage. In the caption of the post, the Brazilian stated that he appreciated fans' support and that he hopes to book his next fight soon. For what it's worth, Charles Oliveira has discussed more than just a welterweight move recently. Earlier this month, the former lightweight champion was asked about a potential bout against Alexander Volkanovski. Much like Oliveira, Volkanovski is looking for a fresh start after losing his featherweight gold to Ilia Topuria in February. Well, the Brazilian would love to welcome the Australian up to 155 pounds. Earlier this month, Charles Oliveira stated that a fight against the former champion would be an honor and welcomed the matchup. While there's been some social media buzz about the two competing in November, the bout is far from official as of now. Still, it seems that the 34-year-old is ready for a return to the cage. As one of the lightweight division's most exciting fighters, Charles Oliveira is now ready to hunt. UFC CEO Dana White raised some eyebrows during a recent Instagram live session when one viewer asked about Conor McGregor's return to the octagon. McGregor was supposed to face Michael Chandler in his return to the cage at UFC 303 earlier this summer. But just weeks away from the event, McGregor withdrew due to a toe injury, putting his return indefinitely on hold. Since his UFC 303 withdrawal, McGregor has publicly called for a fight at UFC 310 on December 7th. The Chandler fight seems like the most likely option for McGregor's return opponent, despite some ominous social media posts from the two sides. White has recently said that he's not entertaining McGregor's comeback until he's medically cleared to fight. The two longtime business partners briefly spoke while the two sides were in Sturgis, South Dakota for a motorcycle event. In a Wednesday night Instagram live session, mainly to promote Power Slap's road to the title show, White revealed that McGregor news is coming soon. In addition to the McGregor tease, White also teased some upcoming news regarding Chandler, Charles Oliveira, and Max Holloway. Interestingly enough, Holloway is already booked for a featherweight title clash against Ilia Topuria in October. Details regarding McGregor's potential UFC return return have been kept behind closed doors since UFC 303. White's Instagram live session is the closest thing fight fans have for an answer when it comes to McGregor's comeback. McGregor hasn't fought since shattering his leg against Dustin at UFC 264. It's been a long road back to the cage after McGregor and Chandler squared off as opposing coaches on The Ultimate Fighter 31. McGregor is looking to snap a recent losing skid of defeats in 3 of his last 4 fights. He hasn't earned a win since finishing Donald Cerrone at UFC 246. What do you think? Will Conor McGregor ever return to the octagon? Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Your dedication and support fuel our passion to bring you the latest and greatest in the MMA world. If you enjoyed today's news, please give us a thumbs up and share it with fellow MMA fans. Remember to subscribe to stay in the loop with daily MMA updates. We've got a lot of exciting news, interviews, and analysis coming your way every single day. Your engagement helps us grow and serve the MMA community even better. Once again, thank you for being an integral part of our daily MMA journey.